BFTB, best fight the best. So, I want to take the time to address something that I don't really see many people addressing. And that is the drawing power of Errol Spence Jr. Listen, Mikey Garcia, right, does not want to fight Errol Spence because of legacy. I don't care what anybody says. Now, I respect him for calling him out. I respect him for wanting it. I respect all that. But it has nothing to do with legacy. It has everything to do with money. Drawing power. Right now, Errol Spence has everybody behind him. Drawing power. Think about it. Golden Boy, right, is talking about Canelo fighting Errol Spence. They would rather have Canelo, a 147 pounder, a guy who's never even fought at 154. They would rather have him fight Canelo, who is a full 160 pounder, the lineal middleweight 160 pound, the lineal middleweight champion. You know what I'm saying? Unified champion. They'd rather have him fight Errol Spence than fight Charlo, who is an actual middleweight and the WBC mandatory. That should tell you something. It has nothing to do with anything, because they're talking about, oh, well, listen to Bernard Hopkins talking about, oh, well, you know, Charlo has to earn his shot. What the fuck did Errol Spence ever do at 160? Ever? Stop the bullshit. It's about the dollar bill. Period. Errol Spence is the drawing power. Now, Canelo Alvarez, probably the biggest star in boxing right now. And I won't take nothing away from him. But how do you make the biggest star in boxing the most money? By pitting him against the drawing power. If Anthony Joshua was the same size as Canelo Alvarez, they'd probably be talking about that fight. Because he draws a lot of money, he draws a lot of power, draws a lot of people in the UK. You know what I'm saying? So they'd probably be talking about, oh yeah, Anthony Joshua versus Canelo Alvarez. I think that's a good fight for the fans. And like, whatever. Nobody, these people don't give a fuck about the fans. They don't care. They care about the dollar bill. Drawing power. Drawing power. Whatever the draw is. And right now, Errol Spence is the draw. Key point. Right? Here's another example. Bob Arum was talking about, before with Errol Spence, it was Errol Spence and Bud Crawford. It was like, oh, well, let that fight will make sense. When that fight makes sense, it'll happen. But that was just last year. I don't even think that was last year. That was this year. But now, mysteriously, he's like, oh yeah, well, let's make that fight happen. I'm willing to make that Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence fight happen. Of course you are. Why? Because Errol Spence is the draw. Period. He is the draw. Mikey was smart enough to see that early. You know what I'm saying? Mikey threw his hand in the hat early. He threw his cards in there early. You know what I'm saying? Because he knew Errol Spence was the draw. I mean, people are not talking about this. They're not even mentioning this. They're just stuck on, Canelo Alvarez and Anthony Joshua. The draw is who people want to fight. That's the draw. The draw is who the people who are somebody want to fight. That's the draw. People want to fight Errol Spence. Why? Because he is the draw. When you can damn near sell out fighting Ocampo, you are a draw. Ocampo, who never fought anywhere, anybody, doing anything, but damn near sell out. Errol Spence is a draw. Period. Canelo Alvarez, Golden Boy, willing to put Canelo Alvarez up against Errol Spence, but not willing to put Canelo Alvarez up against his WBC mandatory. Saying his WBC mandatory needs to do something. Dog, Get the fuck out of here, you fucking coon. The WBC needs to do something. I mean, the mandatory needs to go do something. The mandatory. The mandatory. He is the mandatory. He doesn't need to do shit but get his fight. That's all he needs to do. Get his title shot. Period. He's the mandatory. Now, Canelo just won a WBC title, so he has X amount of time, whatever that time frame is, from whenever Golovkin was supposed to fight Charlo. So now Canelo is the WBC champ, so he inherited that time frame. Now he has to fight Charlo within that time frame. So if he wants to fight Lemieux, which we all knew was going to happen because they was expecting Lemieux to beat Danny Jacobs, not Danny Jacobs, they was expecting Lemieux to beat Billy Joe Saunders for the WBO title, and then they would have had him fight then, but that didn't come to fruition. So they put him on this undercard to do the Floyd Mayweather, build him up, then smack him back down. Get the fuck out of here. Look, man, you want to fight David Lemieux? Fine. Fight David Lemieux. Fine. Get an all Golden Boy in-house money. Do that. I don't care. Bottom line is, your next fight is motherfucking Charlo. That's your next fight, Charlo. So you can have David Lemieux in December, and then after that, you got to fight Charlo. And that is a tough fight for both. It's a tough fight for both. But I got Charlo winning it. And I don't think it's going to be easy at all, but that's something I'll break down at a later date. I don't see that being easy at all. At all. I don't like Canelo, but I think Canelo is a superior top 3 right now. Pound for pound, top 3 fighter in the game. You know what I'm saying? And he fuck around and might be number 2, to be honest. Because, I can't. Another conversation, but whatever. He ain't number 1. That's still Crawford. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. But number 2, I don't have a problem with that. Another conversation. This one is about Errol Spence. Errol Spence is the boxing draw. He is the boxing draw. Period. It had no Terrence Crawford wanted to fight, but Bob Arum wasn't trying to make that fight. Bob Arum was not trying to press that at all. Bob Arum was, I gotta do whatever. He wasn't trying to do none of that shit. But now all of a sudden, it makes sense. Why? Because because Errol Spence is the draw. Canelo Alvarez doesn't want to fight Charlo. You know what I'm saying? But Golden Boy's willing to put him against Spence. Why? Because Errol Spence is the draw. Mikey Garcia. You know what I'm saying? You are fighting at 135, 140, but you want to move all the way up to 147 and fight the killer in the division. Why? Because Errol Spence is the draw. That's why. He is the money draw. That's why. Period. We're not talking about that. Everybody's talking about all these other fighters that are the money draw and, blah, 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 and the biggest stars in boxing. But when the biggest stars in boxing want to fight Errol Spence over other guys, even in their weight classes, that should tell you who the draw is. That should tell you who's got drawing power, who's got star power. Errol Spence fights at 147. He's never fought anywhere else. But you got full 160 pounders willing to fight him. You've got 135 pounders, 140 pounders willing to fight him. Why? Because he is the draw. That's why. BFTB, and I'm out.